Lately, I've been thinking a lot in the current state of Forza, that we're about to get Horizon 6, and kind of reminiscing on Forza Horizon 5. That made me think a lot that I really wanted to put this type of video out as to why the older Forza games were simply better. For me, I'm just gonna show as to why these older Forzas were better. I'm gonna, put Forza Horizon 2 as an example, as I'm playing it right now, just enjoying myself a little bit. This video is just gonna be, I guess, a precursor to the next video I'm gonna put out right before Horizon 6, which is a final goodbye video on Forza Horizon 5. So with this video, I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm talking about here. So when it comes to Forza, right, what makes Forza games great, or any game in general great, are the experiences on the game itself. What does the game bring to the table? What does it add to the table, and what makes it fun? And this comes in with a lot of different things, right? But one thing I'm gonna show you right now real quick at this moment in time as we're driving is the art style. Now, this plays a big role into video game, in my opinion, in that it can make the game stand out. It can make the game feel something, or give you that feeling, a special feeling. And Forza Horizon 2 is no exception in terms of bringing that style. Yes, was it very kind of unrealistic kind of graphics, I guess you can say, with the color palette? You can say that, but you can't deny that this game did stand out from the crowd, especially when this game first came out back in 2014, where a lot of games looked differently at the time. You look at this game, Drive Club, The Crew 1, all these games have different feelings and vibes. And now these days, with the newer Forza games, or the newer racing games in general, Gran Turismo, Need for Speed, all of the above, they're kind of all look the same, in that they all are really trying to get with that realistic style, and it just makes all of them feel blended into one another and not really distinct anymore. That's just kind of the graphics, right? That's kind of the graphics part. We haven't really delved into the gameplay, which I'm gonna speak on right now. So first thing I'm gonna show with the gameplay is I'm just gonna go and head into this race here and just talk about the gameplay. One thing that the older Forzas did an amazing job at was bringing good gameplay, in that not just the driving. Obviously the driving has always stayed the same for the most part, in which case most of the driving that we've gotten throughout the series have been just slightly improved as the games went on. But ultimately it's been the same. So that's not the gameplay part I'm talking about here. The gameplay part I'm talking about is the career mode. Now, everybody has their different, I guess, opinions on how they would prefer their career mode to feel like, what they would want the career mode to be like. But from a gameplay standpoint, from a video game standpoint, I think it's important to have a kind of structure career mode, structure feel, traditional, strict career mode, in that it makes you feel motivated. It makes you want to push yourself to get through said career mode and do better. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think that plays a big part as well. As on top of that, the characters, if the game has a little bit of a narrative going on within it, the characters play a big role in terms of that as well. Now, Forza Horizon is in the series that is known for its narrative. To be honest, the first game only really had a narrative. Even with these games, later games, Horizon 2, 3, 4, and 5, we still have characters. And even the characters play a big role in terms of how the game feels, right? You know, if they have cringy lines and just overall cringy voice acting, you're not going to really feel delved into the world the game is trying to bring, and just kind of feel like you're kind of just outside of it, right? And that's what the older Forzas, I think, did better in terms of the Horizon side of things anyway.
Okay, we'll chalk that up as another win.
But yeah, you can sound like you just listen to Ben just now, right? He sounds normal. He sounds like a person you would meet within this scenery, you know, within this music festival, right? He's the boss of the game, and obviously he's congratulating you and all these type of things. And even with the cutscenes, right? Ben isn't the only character within this game. You also get to meet Ashley, which is like the garage person, and even she feels like part of the game and part of this world properly. You know what I mean? A lot of the characters in the recent games don't feel that way. They feel more like they're kind of just they're there just because they have to be there, and they're not really there because they're actually part of the world and part of the game. That makes sense. So if I go into the garage,
Hey there, what's up?
you can hear Ashley, right? Ashley is the garage person, and yeah, that's kind of where it's at, right? You know, the gameplay plays a big role in terms of its career, and the, you know, obviously the characters you're going with throughout the game as well as plays a big role. But now I'm going to talk about arguably the most important part when it comes to this series specifically, Forza Horizon. And even with just video games in general, plays a big role, but especially with this series, because that's kind of the main theme going on, right? That's the main thing going on with this franchise, and that is the music, right? I talked about this before in many shorts and many videos. The music is very important when it comes to this series. Now I'm gonna really delve into this proper because it's really important, and I feel like that's what the recent Forza Horizon titles have neglected for the most part, outside of the career, obviously. Now, you might not care about music, but you can't deny that music plays a big role, or play the most important role, quite frankly, for the series, right? Again, this is based off of a music festival, this theme the series is going for, so the music is really important. And if you don't have good music within your music festival themed game, that's a problem. That is where the issue stands, right? When you look at the first 3 games, these games never disappointed with any of the music in any of the music radios, right? All the radio stations felt distinct. They all had good music within them. The later Horizon games kind of just forgot that that was an important aspect that needed to get right. And I think that's kind of the common theme with the later games and with the, you know, any media for the case there is. And I think you put this in any case for any media, and that when a company starts something, right, when they start a franchise, they put a lot of soul within that thing because they wanted to do well. They wanted to do it. It's their first time doing it, so obviously their first attempt at it needs to be done properly. It needs to be done right. So when you have I guess as you go on, when the company goes on with the franchise or whatever, they start to play things a little bit safer, right? They don't really take that much risk. They don't really do as much things because they already made it. Like the franchise has been very popular. It was a very popular franchise. I guess that makes it less of an incentive to properly, I guess, try, and that makes them play things safer. That makes them take less risks, and that makes them neglect a lot of things that of what made that franchise special in the first place. That's kind of what Player Games has done from this with this franchise, in my opinion. Now, I've seen a lot of comments recently on my channel that Horizon 5 is overhated, and yes, to an extent it is, right? But you gotta understand what most of the hate is coming from that game, right? I think a lot of people that are new to the franchise won't quite get as to what made the older game special, and that's kind of why I wanted to get out with this video in the first place. Horizon 5 as it is a good game. No one's denying that. It was never a bad game to begin with. A lot of people call it bad, but people don't quite understand as to what makes the game bad, right? You can still call a good game bad, and you can still call a bad game good. It really comes to what you actually mean when you say the good game is bad, right? So for me, from my perspective, I think Horizon 5 is a good game, but it is bad at the same time. Now, what does that mean? What do I mean when I say that it is bad at the same time? Well, as a structured, polished game, it's great. It has the cars, it has the driving, right? There's nothing wrong with the handling. It's got, you know, the modes. It's got the accessibility. As a game, it is perfectly fine. But when you get to the nitty-gritty of what makes the game, I guess, special, there's not really much to it, right? The map. I even talked about the map with this game, or what made the older game special when it comes to that, but I'll get to that soon. The map, the career mode, the soundtrack, they all feel just too safe, too, I guess, neglected, in that Player Games didn't put much effort into those three things, and those three things are arguably the most important stuff when it comes to this franchise and when it comes to racing games or video games in general, right? You need those things to be done right to make it a great game, a great gaming experience, and that's what Horizon 5 doesn't really do very well at. Now, I haven't talked about the map yet, so let's talk about why these older games had great maps. So you look at Horizon 2 map, and from, you know, the outside perspective, when you're just looking at the base map, there's not really much to it, right? You don't really see much. But when you actually drive around it, you get to see as to what makes this map great, right? Now I'm gonna go back into the festival and get, I guess, the cover car of the game, the Huracan, and just drive down the Castelletto road from Nice to Castelletto, as that specific bit of road is to why these games had more soul added to it, and why, I guess, Player Games put more effort into these games
Come on in.
as opposed to
How
the
can I
later
help?
entries. And I'm just gonna take a little just drive, I guess, to the Castelletto up, just drive down that road. I think the map is another big role, plays another big role in terms of this series specifically. You know, this is an open world franchise, so the map is very important. I'm gonna turn off the GPS. That is very important for this type of series, right? Especially with a lot of other racing games that are based off in an open world. Even even games that are not really based on open world, they're just more like close track, I guess, games, right? They're still important. Having good, you know, different tracks, having good maps within these games are great. You know, it's an important thing. And as the series went on, that kind of has been neglected a little bit. Now this series is really dependent on, I guess, its location, on what the game is based on. So if the series isn't really an interesting location, I guess, or like an interesting location for a game, racing game for that matter, then it's not gonna be as well received. You know, places like the UK, Scotland, that was in Horizon 4, or Mexico, that was in Horizon 5, are good examples of that, right? But that's kind of more on, I guess, the location itself than it is with player on games. Is, I don't know, I guess, vision on how they put out those things, right? But at the same time, I said this in my Goodbye Horizon 5 video, but you can even look at the fact that, you know, they could have done more with those maps. They could have done more with Horizon 5. It's a Mexico map. They could have done with a lot more with that. In that they could have added better locations. I guess have a more modernized rendition of the Mexican map or whatever. They could have done a lot more with it. But I think the main component as to why that wasn't the case and why it is the way it is was because it was held back by the Xbox One. And the fact that they needed to optimize that version of the game fully is what ultimately put it in the state it was. And that it wasn't really it was kind of just felt empty and not really much to it, right? But yeah, I'm just driving down this road here. You cannot tell me that this isn't, there's no like soul here. There's no like, it just feel, you can't say that. You can't really say that much, you know. And like I said before, there's nothing wrong with Horizon 5 from the surface level. There's not really much wrong with it. It's nothing. As opposed to like maybe like a Need for Speed game, like a modern Need for Speed game. You know, with modern Need for Speed, there's a lot more to those games as to what makes those games kind of just not great as video games, right? Just not great games, as most of those games were not optimized very well. They were not polished to the best forefront for a lot of them, right? Even with the really good ones like Heat, right? They still couldn't fully put down what they really needed for those games. But with Horizon 5, they put out those things, right? There's a lot more to Horizon 5 from the service level than Horizon 2, right? For example, there's a lot of limited things you can't do in Horizon 2 that you can do in Horizon 5, right? There's no denying that. But as video games, as experiences, you know, these games just did it better. And I think that's what people that are new to the series need to understand. And I think, on the contrary, that is what you're gonna really find out with Horizon 6 when it fully releases. You're gonna really understand as to what I'm really talking about here. I haven't really barred yet proper on the curve. Anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.
Depot
and peace.
beat.